A baptism of fire doesn't begin to describe the challenge facing Bournemouth, Eddie Howe. The 31-year-old's the club's third manager of a season that started with that 17-point deduction for failing to follow Football League insolvency rules. There's still 9 points from safety, and this week it was announced that new investment is once again being sought as a previous offer failed to materialise. There must be easier ways of making a living, Eddie.
It's been a rough ride, for the club this year. But we're hopeful that we can, slowly turn things around. Off the field problems have dogged the club for a number of years now, and we're just hoping for a little bit of stability if that can be found.
Your own bond with the club, it seems to be absolutely enormous. I mean, obviously, when you went away, but to come back, the supporters raised a bob or two to bring you back. You must feel a sort of indelible bond with the place. No,
very much so I do, which is why it was heartbreaking earlier this season when I got the sack from my job with Kevin Bond when he left. But then I got the call, a few days later to come back. So it's been a strange season, but I do have a real fondness for the club, and I'm hoping that there's better times around the corner.
I guess you're a manager, well, by accident rather than by design at this early stage, because obviously you did have to retire early through injury.
Yeah, no, I had to retire early through injury, which was, obviously very disappointing for me personally. But I was lucky enough, to get a job under Kevin Bond with his coaching staff, and I learnt ever so much in that sort of 2-year period. And then I moved, to another job within the football club. So I've done the rounds. I sort of know the job quite well, and I'm hoping I can make a success of, being a manager, and hopefully we can climb the league.
Well, do you think then, in hindsight, perhaps because of your love for the club and because of the desperate situation they've been in over the last few years, did you maybe play on longer than you should have done?
Yeah, I think I did. I felt probably the last year and a half of my career, my knee was getting to a point where I couldn't really do myself justice on the pitch and couldn't really kick properly. So it got to a point where, I should have perhaps retired a little earlier. But, I'm pleased I didn't now because, I was still, obviously, the manager felt at the time, still part of the plans and still doing a good enough job to get in the side.
So the age thing, I mean, does that make the job even more challenging? Do people look at you as though you've got a bright green face with pink dots on it? I mean, does it make any difference?
I haven't. I've said this before in interviews. I haven't actually thought about it at all, and I don't believe that anyone else has really from this side, from inside the football club, where I wouldn't have thought so anyway. I look at it that I've been asked to do a job, and I'll do the job to the best of my ability. I don't ever think of, I'm young or anything negative like that. I look at it as a great challenge.
Yeah, well, I wasn't necessarily chucking it in the pot as a negative pointer, Eddie. Yeah. It was just whether, there was that natural reaction. Oh, my goodness, he's only 31. What on earth's he doing managing? I wondered whether it'd come up. And what about the football family? Have you had sort of calls from some of the sort of, managers that are more established? Harry Redknapp's obviously got links and things with the club. Have you had any sort of help along the way?
Yeah, I've sought advice from people, of course I have. As I say, people like Kevin Bond, Harry Redknapp, for sure, Sean O'Driscoll at Doncaster, Peter Grant, who was formerly assistant here. I've sought opinions of people whose opinions I respect and asked their advice just like any manager would.
Is there a sort of contingency, being prudent, is there a contingency in place that if the club did go down, and is it difficult? Obviously nobody wants to sort of overstretch resources or anything to make a situation even worse. Are you having to face up to that possibility?
I think you have to face up to that possibility. I wouldn't say I'm planning for it, but I think you have to have contingency plans. You have to plan ahead, and I think we're planning both ways, which I think is the right thing to do, because it would be foolish to put all your eggs in one basket and then find out you're in a different scenario. So yeah, we're being, I think, doing the right thing, and I think that's the most important thing at this stage. 1923,
it's a long time, isn't it? I mean, how on earth would the old place be affected if you did lose your league status? I mean, it doesn't bear thinking about.
No, it doesn't. For the supporters, for everyone at the club, it doesn't bear thinking about. We're certainly not on the coaching side thinking about it, because we're preparing the team to try and win every Saturday, and we're not looking down, we're looking up. So we know we need to close the gap on the teams above. A couple of back-to-back wins would help enormously.
Well, listen, we wish you well. I've got to ask you, I was down a few years ago, and I remember the tramp peering through the gap in the fence down there. Where is he? Is he still around? Have you seen hiding a hair of him?
I think he's still around. I've seen him now and then. He's not a regular Not a regular sighting, but probably once a month I'll see Gordon somewhere, behind a bus or out in town or at the ground.
Oh, right, so you know him by name, do you, Gordon the Tramp?
Yeah, Gordon, everyone knows him by name around here.
Well, we're gradually starting to build the picture. Listen, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. We do wish you luck.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. That's the Bournemouth manager, Eddie Howe, joining us on the weekly Coca-Cola Football League podcast with me, Mark Clemmit, for the chance to win tickets to see your team. Visit www.cokezone.co.uk.